There we go.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Welcome to the Village Authors. It's my pleasure to introduce our presenter today, award-winning novelist, prolific writer and author, prominent member of the Village Authors, our very own Cassandra Ulrich, who will be presenting today on the imposter syndrome. Let's everyone mute as we send our reactions up. And Cassandra, you now have the floor.
All right. Thank you so much, Pat. It's great to be a part of this group. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. There we go. You should be able to see that now. So, imposter syndrome, why good writers doubt themselves and what to do about it. So, this has been a topic of conversation for writers for a long time, probably decades, maybe centuries, who knows. But, after this, we want to build confidence without waiting to feel confident. That's what we'll be focusing on today. So I'm going to have an opening question here. Have you ever thought, I'm not a real writer? Someone will figure out I'm not talented. My success was just luck. Everyone else writes better than I do. If you've had these thoughts, you're in good company. Our learning objectives for today: by the end, participants will understand what imposter syndrome is, recognize how it appears in writers, learn why it happens, separate feelings from facts, and leave with practical strategies. So, what is imposter syndrome? It is a persistent belief that your accomplishments are undeserved and that you'll eventually be exposed as a fraud despite evidence of competence. Important point: this is not a mental health diagnosis. So please do not confuse the two. So, what does it look like for writers? We never feel like we're good enough, even if we've gotten awards and accolades. Compare yourself to published authors. Oh, I'm not a bestseller. Thinking praise is just people being nice. Believing publication was luck. Afraid to submit work. Constantly revising and feeling like a beginner forever. So, this third to last bullet, afraid to submit work, this is why the South Jersey Writers Group that I'm a part of, we celebrate when people submit. Like, we actually clap and cheer because that is like a huge step for many people. Like, just to put it out there. So we celebrate that as well. So, why writers are especially vulnerable? Creative work is subjective. It's personal, especially when you're doing memoirs, but even when you're writing fiction, because it's like you're putting part of yourself out there. It's public. Other people are going to get to see this. It's constantly compared. I mean, how many times we see, in literature, one writer's compared to another writer, or one author compared to another author's work. Rejected frequently. Even those authors we consider famous and well written and producing wonderful work, they've gone through hundreds of rejections just to land that one publisher who'll give them a chance. Writing also has no clear finish line. There's endless room for improvement. I mean, even yesterday I'm listening to one of my books. I'm trying to get into audio, and of course I'm seeing what I would do differently. But I'm gonna leave it like it is because it is an award-winning book, so I'm not gonna touch it. But you always see room for improvement, um, and it's visible to criticism. Common thinking traps. You can discount your success. They accepted my story because they needed to fill the space. Or perfectionism. If it isn't perfect, I'm a failure. Comparison. She's already published 3 novels. And then you could add on, and I haven't even published one. Mind reading. They're secretly judging my writing. Um, so these are the kind of thoughts. It's not good, not good. But writers fall into this all the time. So we, have success, then we have self-doubt, we overwork or we avoid, we have temporary success, then we tell ourselves we fooled everyone, then we have more self-doubt. It just spirals. It just spirals. So we want to be able to put a halt to that. Um, but before we do that, do you have any ideas or any thoughts of authors that you may have grown to love who've also experienced self-doubt?
I can't.
Probably no. Like you mean authors who have written already, but they share.
Published, famous.
Yeah.
So
I,
I'll mention one that I saw, um, Maya Angelou. We
Really?
wouldn't think of her as having self-doubt, but we love her. We love her work. We think it's fantastic. But she was not exempt from this either. And there are others, in children literature, in poetry. Some names that were mentioned was Neil Gaiman and John Steinbeck and Margaret Atwood. Um, Talent does not eliminate self-doubt.
Hmm.
That's a good point. Wow.
All right. Next one, imposter syndrome versus humility. So I put a table here. It has healthy humility on one side and imposter syndrome on the other. So positive statement to say is, I'm still learning. That's a good thing to say. Imposter syndrome will twist that and say, I don't belong. I don't even know why I'm writing. Why am I even here? Healthy humility accepts compliments. Imposter syndrome rejects compliments. I've known, many people who you tell them, oh, I love your work. And they go, it was nothing, or I don't deserve that. Or you find a reason not to. It's like, just say thank you. I've been trying to put that into practice. Somebody compliment, I just say thank you, accept it. Healthy humility learns from mistakes, but imposter syndrome defines self by mistakes. Healthy humility celebrates success. Imposter syndrome explains away the success. So those are the differences, and we need to watch. It could be a fine line between some of these, but it's important because it affects how we think about our writing, how we think about ourselves, how we respond to others when they love our work. All right. What actually makes someone a writer? Fill in the blank. A writer is someone who, this is a little exercise for you to do. A writer is someone who, fill in the blank.
Rights.
Very good. That's what I put. Anybody else?
A, a writer is someone who uses their imagination to share with the world.
Wonderful. Anyone else?
and mine is the same. I could have just said who writes, but I put a writer as someone who shares their words,
All right.
with the world in by writing. Shares
Very
their
good.
written words. How about that? Okay. Yeah. But it really is someone who writes. But you're not supposed to describe a word. Anyway, that's all.
Thank you so much. So yes, I had my personal thing was a writer is someone who writes. Um this is some that came up writes consistently, but I don't think that consistent has to be there. Um if you write, even if it's once a month, hey, you're a writer. You're a writer. Revises, learns, shares work, keep showing up. So
That's a good one.
you didn't write for 2 years, but you came back, you're a writer. You're continuing something that you left 10 years ago, you're a writer. So um, give yourself a lot of mercy. It is not someone who is a bestseller or published by a major press. They're different. That usually falls in the author category. But a writer, you writing, you come back, you working, you're a writer. So the role of comparison. Comparison is information, not identity. Compare your work to learn. Don't compare your worth. What do you think about those statements?
It's good statements.
Yeah.
Compare your work to learn. You learn from your mistakes, but don't compare your work to your worth, because that can lead into your feeling all those other things we just went across.
Right.
What
Oh,
happened?
Pamela was coming off mute, but she had an echo.
She's
Okay.
on two different devices, it looks like.
Yeah, I
She's
did
on
Oh,
here
put her.
twice. So if she unmutes, it'll be a little echo. Deneen has her hand raised. Go ahead, Deneen.
Yeah, I just with this particular one, and that's I'm thinking about spoken word as well, and the fact that when you recognize that you are your individual self and your expressions of your words are different, um, that helps you to be able to appreciate others, and know that you're in your own lane, like,
Exactly.
so I appreciate being around other writers, other genre, other people who write in other genres, all the whole 9 yards. And it just, we have a seat at the table, and it's okay and you should come to the table as yourself, your
mhm.
authentic self. So yeah, that
Yeah,
is really good.
yeah.
That's good.
Pamela, did you want to say something?
Yes, I had wanted to say that um, what I would teach when I was teaching at Delaware County Community College was that F for failure is feedback. Um, Knowing that that's the learning process. If something doesn't come out the way you wanted it the first time, you've gotten feedback from the action that
Right,
you took versus taking no action at all.
right, right. Yeah, it's a
That's
matter
good.
of, I'm sorry.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah, it's definitely a matter of looking at any information that you get coming back about your writing as feedback for improvement rather than, oh, it's no good. Um, so when you twist it around and make it work in your favor and say, how can I improve upon this? I started out, my initial writing, I used a lot of verbs of being. And I remember somebody's like, you use was and were too often. So I went back and I replaced all of that with action verbs. And it's made my stories a better reading experience than having just a bunch of was's and were's in there. So those are the kind of feedbacks you can take. And over time, I've seen how, my writing has improved. If I had said, given up hope and said, all right, I'm never ever going to be able to do this, I would have never gotten to the point where I was winning awards for my writing. So, you just, a lot of perseverance is in there, but also taking feedback as it is, you know, how can I improve based on what someone has told me rather than I'm not good enough. Yes,
It's
Pat.
good.
My, I don't know if you'll come to it or not, but my two biggest, you did cover one of them. My two biggest imposter syndrome issues are, and have always been, the number one is that I don't have a degree. And
Mm,
that has whatever the word is, me haunted me for all of my writing career. Um, that's how I most compare myself to others inwardly.
mm,
I don't have a degree, but I don't have a degree. I've done something, but I don't have a degree. And the other one is, to a lesser degree, being traditionally published. And that's simply because I so far haven't even submitted to, I don't know, imposter syndrome is funny. How can you make yourself feel bad about something when you haven't even tried and been rejected? You know what I'm saying? Like, now
mhm,
I can look back and go, why were you feeling like that about not being traditionally published? You didn't even send anything out to a traditional publisher to be rejected, to have a valid reason for feeling this way. So yeah, so but the degree one is something that still haunts me. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we're gonna thanks so much for sharing, and we are gonna, go through a little bit more, but I'll just say for me, even though I have a degree, my imposter syndrome was, oh, you don't have a degree in English or literature. What are you doing writing? You're into math and science. So you're writing fiction. How are you even going to fit in with all the people who've gone to school for this? So it doesn't matter. Like, I have a degree in something, and I was still finding a reason for the imposter syndrome to take over.
Okay, I see. I see.
It's always greener on the other side. I guess that's how our brain wants to think. Somebody else got it better.
For
Yes, Rashida.
easier. I think for my it's a real struggle for real because I mean I don't have a degree in it and uh I don't know if I told you all before in 99 I literally died 3 times, so it kind of like damaged a part of my brain. So for me to write is really a struggle, and that really beats me up because I really have to go through a lot of challenges or um, struggles to write what I write. If it's not just flowing, it's a struggle. So that comes often. You're never going to finish the book. You're never going to write. Nobody's ever going to read your stories because you put things backwards and all this kind of crazy stuff. And I think after a while, it gets too much. This is a really, really good topic for me today. I'm really appreciating it because I see I'm not the only one that struggles with this, regardless to the reason that we struggle with it. Everyone has a reason, and it's a real, real, real struggle for me. But I'm really appreciating this topic today.
Thanks, Rashida. Thanks for sharing. All right, so we're gonna go to the next slide because we're gonna start trying to re um organize our mind to help our brain to think differently about us with respect to our writing. So instead of saying I'll never be good enough, try saying I'm still developing. Instead of saying they're better, just try saying they're further along. So the one kind of sticks you in the mud, and the other one gives you opportunity to move forward in both instances. So we are going to go on to some practical strategies. Keep an evidence file. I know I do this. When I submit something, I actually put the date down, and I have it by year, and I actually put it in OneNote because I can see everything on the same page over the years. But I'll put down when I submit, and I'll put down when I hear back, whether it's a yes or a no. I'll put down when I hear, or when the date has passed, because sometimes you don't hear back after a certain date, and okay, it wasn't accepted. But I keep all of that so I can balance myself out. And then, when I resubmit something, I'll write that down. Positive feedback, accepted submissions, kind emails, awards, finished projects. Um, in my LinkedIn, I keep tabs on that too. I have like all of my projects that I've worked on and when I have finished them. And I even have like what the word count was when I finished them, and then what the word count was when I published them. So I keep track of everything. Like, how did I progress? Normalize rejection. Every writer gets rejected at some point, whether it's from a publisher or from a reader. Um, every writer goes through this. So, normalize it. Don't take it to heart. Will it hurt and you be sad? Yes. Our feelings are affected, but don't let those feelings then manifest into you thinking that you're not good enough to keep going. Measure the submissions, not just the acceptances. So like I said, I track all of that. Separate identity from output. A bad draft does not equal a bad writer. A rejected story does not equal a rejected person. So separate the two. Everybody's going to have a bad first draft. I don't know anybody who has a great, fantastic first draft. I don't know anybody. Even the bestsellers, they have had multiple drafts that they work through, multiple people who are editing their book, and times that they have to send back and get. Even the most fantastic writers have people. We have critique groups. So those, when you have critique groups that look at your work, that's drafts that you're going through every time you touch it to make corrections to it. So it's fine. And then even when you publish, like I said, I published something and it's an award-winning book, and I can still see things that I would do different because it's been years since I've looked at it, and I've grown since then. Celebrate the completion of items, finish your writing, revising, submitting counts, and rejoice in that. Like if you need to, get sparkling cider or something and toast to yourself for finishing something, do that. I remember I would do that when we were homeschooling our kids. When we finished a workbook, we celebrated finishing the workbook. We didn't focus on how well they did throughout. We just you finished it, we're celebrating that. So I do the same with my writing. I finish it, I celebrate. I tell my friends, I rejoice in the fact that I finished each stage. I finished the first draft, I finished revising it, and then I've submitted it to somebody. So this is an interactive exercise. I'm going to write down, the subject of this is the inner critic. So you're going to write down 3 thoughts your inner critic says, and then rewrite each as a supportive editor. We'll give you a moment to do that. 3 thoughts your inner critic says, and then rewrite each as a supportive editor. And I put an example there. You might say this chapter is terrible, but the editor might say something. The supportive editor would say this chapter needs work, which is what revision is for. So I'll give you a moment to write that. All right, anybody ready to share? Okay, go ahead, Denise.
Yes. Okay. So, and I did this out of the way, my brain thinks. So, and I feel like they are all the same answer, but the first one is nobody is interested in that. Um, and my counter critic says it's my joy to write it first. Um, and no credentials. Thank you, Pat, for bringing that up. And it's do it anyway. You have the gift. Um, and nobody reads anymore. And my critic says to make it available. And I want to drop this thing in that I don't really have an answer to. Um, but what constantly uh comes to my mind is my biggest I guess it would be imposter syndrome, or my biggest thorn is I've only published one book. And I don't have an answer to that. I'm so yeah, I have to leave that on the table.
You can say something more like you published one book, but you have many more gifts
To
to
write.
impart on the world. Because you do. You've been writing, you've been working. So even though you started with one, well, you started and it opened the door for you to continue. You know
Yeah.
how to do that now. So
Yeah.
those are the things, the pieces that you got to take to
Mhm.
encourage you out of, again, you're looking, it's like this previous slide. Um, where was the one? This one, you're still developing.
Yeah.
They're further along, but
Hmm.
you're still on the road to get there.
Hmm.
So be encouraged with that. All right, Pat, your turn.
Yes. I want to say this slide here, it's helpful. It's like the reprogramming we do when we replace a negative thought with scripture. So we do it already. It's just moving that to this exercise. So I like it. I put I don't have a degree, and then I put but I do have life experience. Um, then I put, I am not traditionally published, and I put, add yet to this statement, it allows for hope. So I would say to Deneen, I've only published one book so far, just 2 words. It changes the whole sentence. And then the last one, it says, which I didn't mention, I still struggle with lengthy fiction. Writing a novel seems very intimidating to me. And then I put, I have started small with short stories and flash fiction. So that's kind of the reframing for that. Thank you, Cassandra. This is a great exercise.
You're welcome. And even with, and I think I said this before because some time ago I think Rashida had talked about, when she was writing last year, that each chapter in a longer piece of work can be seen as a short story. So if it intimidates you to write that novel, then just work one chapter at a time, and each chapter is a short story, and you're just expanding on. So that could be something you can do to encourage yourself too. One chapter, one short story piece at a time. Anybody else want to share?
Mine is almost like Lake D's. Uh, I'm I'm never going to finish this book, and my counteraction would be there's no set time to finish. Uh, who's going to be interested in this book? My book will grab someone's interest. And I think the third one is about like the same. I think, what's the point in this subject? Counteract, God has dropped this ideal in me, so that's the point, even if it helps just a handful of people.
Very good. Thanks for sharing, Rashida. Pamela, did you want to share too?
Uh, excuse me. Let's see. Mine's my first one is, let's see. Oh, they say the best writers are readers, and I am not a reader. Thus, I'm not a writer. and I have time to increase my reading to improve my writing. And I didn't come to a counter with this one. I was saying, while I know many who are published in a variety, wait a minute, I know many who are published in a variety of ways, but the publishing process seems too costly. I will stay with vanity publishing. And I didn't come up with a counter.
I think you already did it. You don't have to go with the big five. I think you tacked on to the end that counter thing, that counter statement saying you'll stay with
Okay.
vanity public. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with staying with publisher, vanity publisher.
Okay. And then the other one I'll continue to work on because I know I have others,
Okay.
especially in the idea of I feel like my lane is something that's short, staying with I write long poems, but they're short stories.
Okay.
Right. The thought of a novel is I just think is amazing.
Yeah,
But
same
as far
here.
as
Yes.
as far
I
as the
ditto that.
skill, like as far as the skill or the story to tell, I think life is our story. As far as like when Pat was looking at degrees, I don't know, people who have degrees, I guess they may know how to put the writing in the place. They might not be good writers. They might not have a story to tell, but can help somebody else tell theirs. They have the art of writing, but not the story necessarily to tell. But I think life is our story.
It is absolutely. And
Yes.
I think in reverse what you said, sometimes book knowledge does you don't have the art. Like there's a certain there's something that comes with a natural gifting that you can't get out of books. And I believe that is divine.
I
So
resonate with that.
yeah, but not shooting down degrees, but just knowing, Pat, you and myself with, without degrees, there's still like God has still sealed the deal for us, I feel like. And
True,
that
true.
shows up because you're doing workshops, you're teaching other people how to write. And we're teaching them in a way that is really a divine education that we got directly from heaven. So,
Mhm.
but I do study and try to continue to improve. So,
Mhm.
no formal degree, but life gave it to you, to
That's
us.
right.
Very true.
Right.
Right.
That's
Mhm.
just like every teacher can't teach. Every teacher can't teach. They have
Mhm.
the gift, but they don't have the delivery for other people to actually learn.
Right. I can add something to that. I think writing is like music or dancing. It's got to come from the heart, or it's just can be just words put together with no real feeling. And I
Mm.
think when you do read, like when you watch a movie or listen to a song, you can feel if that person really have lived that, if it's coming from the heart or it's just a song that someone
Mm-hmm.
gave them. And when they're dancing, you can feel their rhythm. You can feel their heart. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I totally agree with that. What you're saying is it's got to come from the heart. You can learn all you want, but it doesn't make you a writer. You can be a publisher or author. You can be an author, but it doesn't mean you're a real writer. Yeah.
So I'll share mine. I had your major wasn't literature, and my counter to that was you loved writing for English class and was great at it. My second one is how good can your fiction be when you had a career in STEM? And then I put as a counter, your imagination has no limits. Your plot lines are really neat. And then the third one was you are too busy and tired to write well. And the counter to that was you make the most of the time you have. So those were, the three things that I have told myself. There's others, but those were the three things I've
Mm-hmm.
told myself in the past.
I
Mhm.
resonate with that last one, Cassandra.
Yeah, me too. Time management is still a hard taskmaster in my life.
It
Too
Time
is.
tired to write.
management.
It
Wow.
is. And it's funny because yesterday I wanted to do some running, but I've had a very long and tough week. And then I needed to prepare for this class. And I said, you know what? I'm just taking a day off. I just I need to relax because I didn't want to force my brain. I did do something writing related because like I said, I'm trying to get one of my books in audio, so I worked on that a little bit. But the revising that work that I wanted to do with another book, I was like, I need a clear brain and a well rested brain to kind of deal with that because I'll be rearranging a lot of things. So I gave myself a day off yesterday. It's fine.
I, I think that's very important, Cassandra, for everybody. You got to take a day away from everything that you do and do nothing according to what you would do every day.
Yeah,
Because you will burn out. Your brain
yeah,
will say, shut me down because I'm done.
yep. And this afternoon, I'm gonna go to a picnic with other writers, to celebrate their 20th anniversary as a writers group. So, yeah, again, interacting with people like that'll be good for me to kind of reset, just get away for a little bit. So yeah, we need times like that when we get into the my brain is tired,
Back
it's
into
not
reality.
working. I can't keep up.
Absolutely.
All right, I got
Hmm.
another exercise for you. Evidence versus feelings. So create two columns. Um, the one example I had here was, I'm a fraud, so that would be in one column. And then the evidence that counteracts that would be you finished a novel, received positive critique, readers connected with your story, you took writing classes, you improved over time. So you create your two columns, um, what the one side, feeling is, and then the evidence that counteracts that. I'll give you a few minutes. Okay, I'm gonna go first to give you a little bit more time. So my feeling is I'm not good enough to be a bestseller. And the evidence that counteracts that, I finished 8 novels slash novellas. 7 of my novellas have won an award. Readers from all over the world left wonderful reviews. Readers returned to buy my other books. And my writing continues to improve as I learn and grow as a person. So that's how I counteract, that feeling. Anyone ready to go next?
I guess I'll go.
Okay.
Um, my feeling tired physically and mentally. Evidence, take a break. Feeling no valid information regarding the subject. Evidence, do intense research on the matter, on the subject. Feeling I won't be a publisher again. Evidence, I have published once, I will publish again. Did I do that right?
Yeah, that was fine. That was great. Thank you, Rashida. Anyone else ready to go?
Yeah, I'm
Denise?
I
gonna.
think I'm ready.
Oh,
Did somebody else say they're ready?
yeah, you can go, Pam.
Okay. Mine's is I am not a writer. And you have published writings in vanity publications for 10 years. Your work has been exhibited in 2 exhibitions. And since your first publication and reading, you have gotten live real time affirmation.
That's some great, powerful evidence you got there, Pam.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. It's making me have to look and think.
Yep. Yep. You need, whenever you get that thought in your head, you go back and you read the evidence.
And a girlfriend made me sit down and do that when I did my boast letter. She said, "You always pushing somebody else's stuff out there." And she edited, she's a writer, like, that's what she went to school for. That's part of her teaching composition and stuff. And she looked over the stuff and edited for me. But she was like, "No, you're gonna sit down and write something about having your work in these 2 exhibitions."
Thank you so much for sharing. Deneen, you're up.
Okay. So mine, I think it's still. I have. I'm still gonna use the same feelings because that's what comes back.
Okay.
Um, the no degree in one publication. Um, and I have that a degree is not required to do what I do. Um, I've assisted others in the field of publication, so there's several other people who have been published. There's a continued interest in my work and my service to others. And just remembering that when I published in the 90s, in my late 20s or maybe early 30s, I self-published, walked through all of the process when it wasn't sexy. And I marketed all my work, created a whole bundle. And so I have to remind myself that you've done it before without the tools that are available today. So that was a great accomplishment then. And I'm better now, a little more mature. And so nothing is impossible to me. So.
Very good. Very good. Thank you for sharing. Pat.
Yes. Well, I cheated. I had to Google something, and it made me change my whole. It just helped. It's like an article. I'm gonna send the link around. Evidence versus feelings. I wrote at the top, and then I wrote. I'm sticking with the same 3 things I shared earlier here today. I am not traditionally published. The article was talking about the rise of, I asked a question, is traditional publishing still considered traditional? And it was talking about the rise of self-publishing and how since 2007, the attitudes have changed towards self-publishing, the stigma of vanity publishing and all that in the literary world is so different now. Um, Once dismissed as a last resort, self publishing is now, this is the quote here, now widely regarded as a legitimate, empowering business model. Indie authors are highly respected for their entrepreneur skills, their direct readership relationships, and their creative control. Have I
Trying to get
been
my
muted the
That's
whole time?
encouraging.
Was I
I'm
muted the whole time? Oh
no,
my.
no, no. I
No,
heard
that
it.
we were
I was trying
listening.
to
Oh,
find. I was trying to find my reaction thing, and I can't find it. That was
my
Yeah,
fantastic.
mind, my
that
mind
was
was blown with that one sentence.
That's
that is
real.
totally
That's
encouraging.
real, Pat.
And it says
Yeah.
Yeah.
from 2007 to 2012 was the big boom
Yes.
in the self-publishing industry. I'm sure
Hmm.
Wow.
Amazon self-publishing has something to do with
When
that.
did you publish your first
My
one?
first book was 2010,
Okay.
right
Okay.
in the middle of that
Yeah.
5-year
Yes.
period.
But you were working on it since before then. And
Oh yeah, I
I
started
think,
working. I bought my ISBNs. I bought a pack of
yeah,
10
yeah, me too.
ISBNs in December of 2007
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
knew that someday I
Yeah.
would publish and I knew it
Yes.
would be more than one book.
Yeah.
I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, I
Yeah, you
bought
could buy
mine too.
one or you could
Yeah,
buy
or 10.
10 or you can
Yeah.
buy 100.
Yeah, I bought 10
Okay.
too.
Yeah.
And I think that we chose to self-publish. Like it was,
Yeah.
we could have had the option, but because you realize that publishing just means to make your work public.
Hmm.
So,
Right.
and
A
I
lot cheaper.
gathered, yeah, and I gathered, I had never even met the lady who edited my book, my first, she was like
Oh.
just emailed her back and forth, so I think we are trailblazers, I feel like. And I think too, it's kind of like when you learn how to play music by ear, it's hard to convert to reading the
Mm.
notes. So it's no shame in this, and the world is catching on.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
like that the world is catching on to what's already been done, huh? I like that.
And for me, like I ended up just by chance in a co-publishing relationship. So I did that first because a friend, told me about somebody who published out in New York, but it was a hybrid or co-publishing thing. And then after that, I went small house traditional publishing. So I never went with the big five. I tried doing the agent because you have to have an agent before you go to the big five. And when I found out that you have to fit in a formula in order to get an agent, you have to fit in a formula because they want to be able to sell your book to the big five. That's when I knew it ain't for me. So it was either small house publishing, which will give you more freedom, or yeah, they try to put you in a box, definitely, or I self-publish and be as free as I want to be. And um the small house traditional publishing was good because it taught me how to interact with like editors that they chose. So when I went on my own, like I knew what I was looking for in an editor. So I was able to shop around, and I kept the people that I worked well with, and the people I didn't ask them again to be my editor. um, so yeah, so I did learn some things, but yeah, big time bookstores, they still have work to do because even though the general population is accepting of indie writers, I find that there's still a little bit of prejudice from established brick and mortar bookstores from having indie authors come in. So um, I've definitely tried a few times with some of the bigger named ones and got nothing in return. No invitations to come. And a few of the small ones, they're like, oh, fill out a form and we'll take you. And some of them don't either. So that's been hit or miss. So there's
Yeah.
still a little bit of prejudice against, but I don't let that stop me. I keep creating, I keep writing. I'm like, you know, eventually somebody will, open their eyes, and we'll see what happens, but I'm gonna keep writing.
And I think Cassandra, it's almost like the independent movie makers and those kind of, you know,
Yes,
and
it's
and
happening
others
there
who
too.
are who prefer freedom over all the other hindrances, because you know doing it because you love it and because you need to get it out of you and onto paper, that's the reason. And like you said, you're going to keep writing whether the big guys show up or not. And what they usually do is show up after they see that you've made a footprint.
Exactly.
And,
And then
and
they
and
want
you can
some of
tell
that.
them no, right? And you get to say no, but out here we are getting the satisfaction of having our things published. That's what I mean. If that is the one thing that somebody wants to do, I want to publish my book. Okay, that is not hard. We can
Right.
do it.
Right.
So
Yep. Yep.
And it took me a long time to understand the local bookstores and the rejection, because I was really, my feelings was so hurt when I went to the Christian bookstore with my first book, and they were like, no, we can't, your book is self-published, it's poetry, and it's less than 150 pages or something. I was like, what? I'm like, what? I didn't understand any of the rules. I didn't know nothing about shelf life and all of that stuff. So a year later, when I went back, I think they let me have a book signing there. And then they said, we'll give you 5 or 6 books on this shelf for this amount of time. And they kind of taught me the why of it. The why, your shelf life, what kind of foot traffic is coming in here for your book? What kind of name recognition do you have in our community? Not just that you lived in Germantown and you are a self-published author and you want to be in our bookstore. Who are you going to drive into this store to get this book that might also buy something else on our shelves?
Right.
How many calls are we going to get to the bookstore? Do we carry Patricia Middleton's poetry books? I didn't understand all of that. I just took it so personal. I boo-hooed. I cried so hard I was leaving work and fell down the steps.
Oh no.
There, I was
Ah,
so
oh my.
upset. I was so upset. But I didn't
Wow.
know. I hadn't done the homework of the bookstore, the local bookstore industry. I knew nothing, you know. But I learned. I learned.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
That's
Yeah,
hard.
yeah, yeah.
Mm, mm, mm.
Mm.
Thanks for sharing, everybody. It's good. Good
Mhm.
slide.
This was a great presentation, Cassandra. Thank you.
I agree.
So building a writer's mindset. So focus on your progress, practice, your curiosity, consistency, and community. Now we're all here, so we got the community thing down. With Track Bear, we're trying to do the consistency. Curiosity, we all have, or we wouldn't be writing. So practice, that's the time we have to make time for, because life is busy, life happens. And so practice. And then progress, looking at, if all you did was get through one paragraph today, that is progress. You may have wanted to get through a whole chapter, but all you did was one paragraph. That is okay. You made progress. So train your mind to look differently at this. So focus on those things instead of perfection, validation, and comparison. Don't do it. Just, don't do those things. So, and we may have already done a lot of this discussion. Some of these questions when does imposter syndrome appear for you? What triggers it? What helps? And what advice would you give to another writer? I don't know if there's anything else anybody wanted to add for these questions, but I think we did a few of these already.
I can look at, for me, like when it's triggered or when it appears. I think for me, sometimes when you see someone who has just really accomplished something big, and that them, it's different. I'm not that affected by people who like out in the world and they doing their 200th book, of which I've read none, but people whose work I've read, because we've been in similar settings, we've read in different settings, and I think I have to look at it and say, because it's not a jealousy, it's a this person, so this person is like homegrown and they've gotten it done, what's stopping you? What is that thing that's stopping you? You've been an encouragement to them, they've been an encouragement to you. What are the things that's stopping you? And making me have to look at it going into, I don't think my writing is as good as, or I don't think my writing is good enough, or those kinds of things. But that's kind of the thing that triggers not just writing, but just sometimes growth and development in life comes more when the progress is coming from people who I know versus I'm not a celebrity follower. So their stuff don't, it doesn't trigger anything for me.
Okay. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I'll share something on that. I think what triggers, well, I don't think, I know this is what triggers me. Um, when I try to set a set time to be done with what I've started, I'm so focused on completing what I start that I think sometimes I push myself to a point where I'm consistent, but then I'm pushing past the flow of the writing, and then I get what's the word? I'll get writer's block, I guess,
Okay.
and then I get frustrated or upset, and then my brain is shut down. So I think what triggers me is to set a time, try to make it happen at a certain time instead of just allowing myself to write freely whenever. However, if you get a flow, go with the flow, and then when it stops, you have to stop and I guess go to something else or whatever. But yeah, that got me in trouble.
Okay. Thanks
Can
for sharing,
relate.
Rashida.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to comment on the advice to another writer. Like you have to be able to quiet the voices in your brain. And you have to have a way that you do that, whether you sing, put on music, um, and counter it, like you said, sometimes verbally, um, just so that you can continue to do what it is that you love and remind yourself of your why.
That's good.
Oh, I love that. Remind
Yeah.
yourself of your why.
Now,
Yes,
that's
yes, that's good.
interesting. I like that, but that's also interesting because when you had us do the other assignment before this, that's where I got stuck. My stuck was why? Why am I writing?
Yes,
I know for me, my why is I just love it. I mean,
yes.
initially, when I initially did it for English class. I mean, everybody starts out in school and you just do it. And I don't think it was until fifth grade when, they would ask us to write stories. And at the time I was just like, all right, I'm doing this for class. But the stories that I came up with, I really enjoyed them. And apparently they came through because the teacher made a point to tell me that the story that I made up was so cool that when I got older, I should consider writing. Now I never forgot what he said because I lived in a Caribbean culture where you went after a job where you could make money and writing was not on that list. So I put it in my back pocket. I don't even know if I told my parents, but I kept it in my back pocket. And it wasn't until decades later that I was actually writing stories again. I did poems, but stories, I was like, for some reason thought I couldn't do it, even though I did it in fifth grade. Um, but even in college, like I enjoyed literature, I enjoyed writing in general, and I was good at it. So then why not? Then I started working, as a software engineer, and I didn't need to write fiction. I was doing technical writing, which is different. So then and I took a class in that, and that's what I thought I was going to do. Meanwhile, my brain was unhappy. So when I got back to writing stories, all of a sudden my brain got happy. Like, ooh, we're back. The fact that I am publishing them is like the cherry on top. But even if I didn't have the publishing, I think I'd still need to write. because
Yeah.
it's therapeutic, especially, some of the poems and even the stories that I write, they involve so many human um life issues. Like some of the topics I choose are deep. And one of my friends asked me one time, do I think it's therapeutic me writing? And I hadn't thought about it like that, but I think yes, even though it was fiction,
Yeah.
I was working through some stuff in my mind, writing out in the characters and how they were dealing with it.
Yeah.
And then I was healing as a result, even though it was fiction. And I had never thought that fiction could do that for its creator,
Yeah.
but it did. I was learning and growing because I was writing it out and seeing how the characters were dealing with it. Sometimes they dealt well with it, so other times they fell flat on their face. So it was kind of like I was taking all those decisions that were possibilities, putting it into them and seeing how it would play out. It's like, oh yeah, that wasn't a good decision, but yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
That's my why.
I think and I had a similar experience, and I was writing in my younger days because I loved it, and I started writing poems, all the other stuff. Got to high school and shared some of my stuff with this English teacher, and she just shot it down. Like she
Wow.
just gave me all kinds of reasons I needed to go back to the drawing board and figure out something else. Um, but I got through that, held me for a minute, but I got through that. And somebody else just reminded me, just shared with me that it was good, but I had to build my own reason. My why has always been for the joy of it. And I get when I write things and I look back over them, they encourage me first. Stuff I pick up 10 years later, I'm like, still like, I needed that today.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that becomes my reason. And when you have something that has blessed you, you want to share it with others. So,
Yeah.
so we figure out how do I help others with this? And so
Yes.
so my why is always for the joy of it. I mean, yeah, that's mine. So
Did we lose Pat, or is she trying to?
No, I'm here.
I'm here.
Okay. I didn't see you anymore. I was
yeah,
like, where'd you go?
person.
Oh, I'm here. I'm on the screen.
All right. All right. Key takeaways. Self-doubt is common, so you're not alone. Writers all over the world go through this. Feelings are not facts. We did our little exercise where we put evidence down. So you go back and reread those whenever you get stuck in your feelings. Confidence usually follows action. So you write, you submit, that confidence will get built over time, but you got to do the writing and the submitting and the having other people read it and the feedback and all of that. Every experienced writer was once a beginner. So, you know, start out with the baby steps, then you toddle, then you're walking, then you're running. So, and nobody has to put a time limit on when all that is happening, because that's the other thing we can do to ourselves. We're like, oh well, I should have been here by now. Get rid of that. You just keep
That's right.
going. You will walk and run when it's the right time for you to walk and run. So no compare with somebody else. Um,
Right.
your job isn't to eliminate doubt. I think doubt is one of those normal things that happen. And then you hone that and you go, okay, then how can I counteract that? And sometimes it's, you need to take a class in creative writing, or you need to join a critique group so you could get more feedback. Like it could be just something, that you could put in there to counteract the doubt. But sometimes it's good. Like, hey, is this sentence good enough? You can go ask somebody. And your job is to keep writing anyway. you know just keep doing it. So closing reflection. um Finish this sentence, for yourself. The writer I want to become would tell today's me, and you finish that sentence. The writing I want to become would tell today's me. I'll go. The writing I want to become would tell today's me to persevere by continuing to write, submit, and publish your writing?
I'll go, and I'm along the same lines that you are on, and just yes. So the writer I want to become will tell today's me, you've got this. Keep going.
All right.
I have to step away for a moment, but I want to say the writer I want to become would tell today's me to be encouraged. Look at what you've accomplished being inconsistent and not following a schedule. Imagine what you could do if you would just conquer time management, girl. I'll be right back, guys.
All right. That's a good one. That's
Okay, I'll go.
okay.
The writer I want to be, I will tell myself, um, you have a lot to say to help others from your life experiences. Don't set a set time. Just keep writing.
All right. Pamela, what's yours?
Give me a second. I'm still crafting it because I have yet to answer what is the writer I want to be.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So that will be your homework then, for you to really think through what would you tell yourself today to do. And that's fine. So take your
Okay.
time. Take your time. And if you want to share it, you can share it at the next meeting.
Okay.
All right. No pressure. Thanks.
Because I've realized that my writing, I think it started out being cathartic. It's like it wasn't for anybody else. It was for me. It was a release of pain. So
Okay.
I'm trying to like, who wants to be a sad writer? Like, that's only topics are like processing sad issues. So I'm trying to figure that out. So thanks for my assignment.
Just food for thought. There are poems that I write that are sad. Um, and I have been brave enough to read some of those at a previous writing retreat that this group had, only to be encouraged by my sisters to tell me that I've pretty much written modern day Psalms. And that's when it dawned on me. Because before that, I think the imposter syndrome was probably similar. Like, nobody want to read all this. It's too sad. But it ministered because it showed the growth, just like the Psalms in the Bible. It showed the growth from the sadness to how I was dealing with it. And I think what it does for the reader is when they're going through their pit in emotions, they can read our work and see that there's hope through the journey of it. So it, even sad writings can help. If it's all happy, it's like the Facebook people who are just like, I'm always having a great time. And you're wondering, are you alive? Like, this world is in chaos. How are you always having a good time? So I think those of us who can write out our sad or grieving
All
feelings
of it.
helps
Yeah,
others who are
Yeah.
going through it to also deal, like they realize, oh, you're human, and we can walk together in this journey called life and make it to the
yeah,
other end.
yeah.
So
Me too.
it starts
It,
out to encourage you, which is great, but don't think it's not going to be useful for others. You
mm,
may be surprised.
yeah. If I can say, my first book, The Soul of the Black Butterfly, most people think it's the soul of the black butterfly because I'm a black author, but she was dark, she was black, she was sad, she was in a dark place. And the poems that I wrote came from a sad place.
Yeah.
But they came out, with I guess insight a little. Lady D, would you say?
Yes,
Uh,
absolutely.
wisdom. But at the time, I was just writing, not
Yeah,
really writing to publish.
right.
I had them just laying around.
Yes, you
But
did.
yeah, but they wound up being published in one all in one book. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was a pour. I'm dropping in the chat something that I had in my business alliance group yesterday as we're talking about our future self. So it's a nice thing to remind us. So it's in the chat. My
Okay.
past served the purpose to equip me for my present and my future.
All right.
Sometimes we get
Amen.
stuck in the past, so we can't even appreciate the present. But while we're here in the present, we can speak
So you
and
might as well
see
write, huh?
where we should be for the future. So what are we saying to, like you said, that future writer? Who do you
Right.
see her being? What do you see her doing? So
Yeah.
Mm.
that's that hope.
So
Yeah.
that's my presentation today. Um, we talked about a lot, worked through a lot, but look this stuff, what you wrote over again in the future to encourage you. It won't be the last time we have imposter syndrome trying to, rear its ugly head. um,
Right. Right.
I have, let me see, let me get up here because I actually have something that I posted on my calendar. It's on a sticky. So trouble is what I titled my sticky. I said, I will be bigger than you. You cannot defeat me. And that's my
Mm.
no to imposter syndrome. So and I put it right here where I usually do my writing. And so when I get imposter, I just look up to it because, with God, everything is possible. And I'm like, no, with his help, like I will be bigger than you. I'm not going to be defeated. Like God's got me. So why do I have to let you win? Never
Amen.
let imposter syndrome win. So
Mm.
that's a little quote that I have next to me to help me in those times. But that's it. I will stop sharing now. And thank you so much for coming today and hearing, my lesson.